Hi, this is Julie Fast for the International Bipolar Foundation. Today I am talking about suicidal thoughts and bipolar disorder. I thought I would do a beautiful bouquet so that while we're talking about such a serious topic, we also can remember that there's a lot of beauty in the world. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 31, but I lived for 15 years with symptoms that were untreated. I remember my first suicidal episode very well. I was 19. I had a fabulous boyfriend. I'd met him while I was manic at a club in the 80s, and I moved in with him very soon after, which was my pattern before I was diagnosed because I didn't know I was manic, and I would just pick up guys and move in with them and soon have a boyfriend. And after he broke up with me because I was too immature, I went back home to my parents. Now, people often ask, what's the difference between regular sadness, regular grief, regular emotions, and bipolar disorder? This story is a perfect illustration of this. So I'd been with this guy about 3 months. We never talked about being together forever. It really was a rather casual relationship, even though I took it very seriously. And when he broke up with me, you would expect me to be upset. Of course you would. But I got much more than upset. I went back to my parents' house, and I remembered not being able to get out of bed, crying sheets of tears. You know, the kind of tears that you cry when you're suicidal have different hormones in them. They come out of your eyes differently. I call them waterfall tears. And I remember one day being on my bicycle, and I was riding my bike on the street, and a bus went by, and I had my first suicidal thought. Julie, if you just turn your bicycle in front of that bus, you'll be dead and everything will be okay. And I remember going, what was that? I'd never had a thought like that in my life. I was 19 years old. Does everybody react to a breakup this way? I didn't know any better. And it was scary. I would have images of seeing myself dying, being attacked by dogs. I would cry. I couldn't sleep. It was a terrible time. And naturally, people thought, oh, Julie's just depressed. Let's cheer her up. So I found a job and I moved away and I went to work at Glacier National Park for the summer and got manic again, and my depression was gone. So it was almost as though that was like a dream. But of course, bipolar disorder, especially when it's untreated, always comes back. And that was simply the beginning of many years of suicidal thoughts where I didn't know what they were and I didn't know how to treat them. Now that I'm in my 50s and I've been living with suicidal thoughts for so many years, I know what to do, and I'd like to share that with you today. That first suicidal thought that I had was quite different than somebody else who goes through a breakup. It took me a long time to figure out what regular people do. Regular people go through breakups and they get sad. They do not think about running their bicycles in front of buses. They do not think about jumping off bridges. They do not think about the kind of things that we think about when our bipolar brain goes through a suicidal episode. So one of the first ideas I want to share with you today, and I made a little list of the things I want to cover, is that when you're suicidal, if you have bipolar disorder, you're ill. There's nothing wrong with your life. Let's think about that. Yes, I was going through a breakup, but you know what? It was my first boyfriend. Everybody goes through breakups. It was simply just a life event. My response to it and my reaction was a bipolar event. That was illness. The breakup was a trigger. Bipolar disorder is an illness that affects a person's ability to regulate their moods. Doesn't it make sense that if we get manic and depressed and anxious, we would also get suicidal? Because that's one of the ultimate, most serious moods that we can have. Suicidal thoughts and behavior are a normal symptom of bipolar disorder. It took me a long time to understand this and accept this. Suicidal thoughts are so scary that when you're in the moment, you're sort of thinking, is something trying to kill me? What is going on? What's wrong? What have I done? Will this ever end? I've been so suicidal that I was rolling around on the floor thinking, please don't let me kill myself. Please don't let me kill myself. It took me a couple years to go, wait a minute. That's no different than me thinking I'm the most beautiful person in the room when I'm manic. That's no different than me being anxious at a party. That's no different than me being irritated and having focus problems. Yes, suicidal thoughts are serious, but if you see them as a symptom of bipolar disorder, it means that if you treat bipolar first and get help for suicidal symptoms in the same way, that you would if you were manic or if you were having a less serious kind of depression, you can get a lot better. There are two kinds of suicidal thoughts. When I was younger, I had what I call passive thoughts. These are thoughts such as, I wish I were dead. I wish I had cancer and would die. Once I was at a friend's house and I was doing fine. I was enjoying myself. It was very beautiful. It was sunny. I was in her backyard and there was a lake. And on that lake was a fence and there was a beautiful crane. It was so beautiful. And then I heard an airplane above me and I had a thought, I wish that plane would drop a bomb on me and kill me. And I remember going, oh gosh, I can't even escape bipolar disorder thoughts in this beautiful setting. It was the travel that had triggered it. Nothing was wrong in my life. I simply had suicidal thoughts because my bipolar was acting up. These videos are very enjoyable for me, but they also provide anxiety. And I want to show you that when we're anxious and we have to do a project such as a video like this, we can stop in the middle of it, not get embarrassed and go, all right, am I speaking really quickly? Am I having odd thoughts? Am I breathing okay? How do I manage my bipolar disorder in the moment? How do I remember that there's so much beauty in the world like these flowers? How do I connect with you as a person who might be suicidal right now? It's to remember that this is an illness. So passive thoughts, I wish I were. It would be good if this happened. Life would be better if I were dead. Active thoughts, and I want to be really clear here, are when your bipolar brain, your brain is telling you what to do. Your brain is creating a plan. When you have active suicidal thoughts in bipolar disorder, which I've had many times, I want to make a suggestion. Separate yourself from those thoughts. Thoughts are not actions. I've been so suicidal in my life after living with this for so many years that I've often been scared that I was actually going to kill myself. And so I had to get a lot of help with this, and I had to teach myself active suicidal thoughts mean I'm sick. It's no different than when I'm really manic. It's no different than when I'm really anxious. It's a symptom. Just talking about it is stressful, isn't it? So maybe if you're stressed when you're watching this, you can remind yourself, I'm in a room, I'm safe, I'm okay. If I'm suicidal right now, Julie's going to help me. There are places I can go. There are people I can talk to. So let's talk about what you can do when you get suicidal. First of all, I have the concept and the idea of treat bipolar first. That means that no matter what I do in my life, I treat bipolar above all else. It's more important than relationships, and it's more important than trying to lose weight I've gained. It's more important than guys. It's more important than travel. It means that I breathe, and I remember that bipolar is an illness no different than diabetes, and that I can take care of it. So the first thing that I suggest when you're suicidal, and this might be a little bit odd, is to ask for help from yourself. When I get really suicidal, I remember that Julie is not bipolar. Julie is a separate entity. And I say, Julie, you're suicidal because you have bipolar disorder. That's why you're sick. Nothing is wrong except that the bipolar is acting up. Let's get help. Number 2, ask for help from others. Suicidal hotlines are there for a reason. Going to a website like the International Bipolar Foundation website or BP Magazine or suicidal websites that say, here's what you need to do, here's who you need to call, it makes a difference because it snaps you back into yourself. Because when we're suicidal, we've lost ourselves. Our bipolar is taken over. And then finally, in this rather simple plan for managing bipolar suicidal thoughts, treat these suicidal thoughts as you would any symptom. Do you need medications? Have you tried a new medication that's actually making you suicidal? Are you in a relationship that's causing you to get sick? Do you need to talk to your doctor? What do you need? So my plan is treat bipolar first, separate myself, ask for help from myself when I'm suicidal, ask for help from others, and remind myself, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of dying right now, but you know what? That's a symptom. I've had it all my life. If you're not suicidal right now and you're watching this, thank heavens, because Nobody wants to be suicidal, but it means that you have a chance to start now and plan ahead for suicidal symptoms. I know I'm going to get suicidal again in life. If I think that all of a sudden my bipolar is going to go away, that's not regular thinking. Do I manage my depression as best I can? Yes, but am I going to get suicidal again? Absolutely. Something's going to happen and I'm going to be triggered. I have survived 35 years of suicidal symptoms. Can you believe that? Those first symptoms at 19 were not my last, and they were not my worst. At one time, I was so suicidal that I was contemplating about how I was going to do it. And I said to myself, Julie, who are you? You're thinking the way that you're thinking because you have bipolar and it's an illness. Separate yourself from your symptoms right now. And that's when I realized that I was having a reaction to a sleep medication. I actually write about this. I'll put the link below for the article where I write about getting suicidal and having some very intense suicidal thoughts. And it was all because of a medication reaction. You are going to be okay. I am going to be okay. Bipolar disorder is an illness. Suicidal thoughts are symptoms of that illness. Doesn't it make sense that if we write down our suicidal thoughts, if we remember what we think, say, and do during a depression episode where we're suicidal, and we remind ourselves when those suicidal thoughts show up, this is just bipolar. I do not want to die. I'm going to be okay, but I'm really sick right now and I need help. And that's how I've survived. I don't take it lightly. I don't take your experience lightly. I love myself. I love you. This is an illness that will tell us something is wrong when it's not. When we are stable, we can prepare for the thoughts that are not real. When we are suicidal, we can say to ourselves, nope, those are bipolar disorder thoughts. They are not me. I'm going to ask for help from myself. Julie, separate yourself from this. They're not real. They're a symptom. You're going to be okay. Ask for help online. Call the numbers that are listed below. Ask for help from friends. I don't get embarrassed when I'm suicidal because I know it's bipolar. Remember that there's beauty in the world. Remember that you matter. We simply have an illness that has suicidal thoughts. We can survive. I'd like to share with you some of the tools that I use. Of course, the International Bipolar Foundation has a wonderful list of books, wonderful bloggers, excellent advice. I love BP Magazine. When you're suicidal, you actually can take out this magazine and open it, and I promise you there will be some help in there. I've written 3 books, Get It Done When You're Depressed, Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder, and Take Charge of Bipolar Disorder. And each one of these talks about treating bipolar first. I love the work of Jim Phelps. You can look at the work of Gabe Howard. You can look up the work of Jason Blair, Susie Hamilton, Sheila Hamilton. I really want to suggest that you work now to get ready for the thoughts when they show up. Because the world is beautiful and you are beautiful and we want to stay alive and stay healthy. Thank you. Thanks for letting me go through this emotional video and sharing with you. This is Julie Fast. And no, I'm not in a mood swing. I'm just emotional. This is Julie Fast for the International Bipolar Foundation. Ask for help when you need it. Bipolar disorder is an illness, not your life. You're going to be okay. Thank you.